Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, we are back online. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. It's still, well, the month of August is past, but we are in the month of October, and October is Heritage Month in South Africa. And today we are
September.
doing, oh, we're in September. Where am I going to October? Woo, I'm living in the future. Goodness gracious. I want the pandemic to be over and I want the lockdown to be over. So, whoever is joining us on Facebook today, we are talking Black wisdom. My name is Ankweta Beatrice Achaleke. I'm the author of the Africa for Smart Kids book series and the publisher of GloBUNTU Books. And today we are talking Black wisdom with my friend. We're doing this last book launch today. We started with the book launch of Cheho Fatso, your daughter, who is the first GloBUNTU Books young author and award winner, and we're wrapping it up to you with you. So it's all in your house. All this journey leads to your house, and I appreciate very much the fact that you are in the car because you're traveling from the village. You have stopped on the road to have this conversation. So people out there, you
Yes.
see how important it is for us when it comes to talking about our history and and unleashing the powers of who we are. We know no boundaries. We can even start on the highway and have the conversation and then continue the journey just like my friend is doing. So, listen to you, my friend. Tell us where you are right now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Beatrice. Thank you for having me for this conversation. I am actually on my way from Kopane. I am just past the Carousel Toll Plaza. I think it's 40 something away from Pretoria, 48 k's from Pretoria. So not yet home, but anxious to have this conversation about Black wisdom with my friend here, Achaleke Ankweta. Yeah, the trucks are passing by, making noise. But yeah, let's get on with it.
not even the noise of not even the noise of the trucks will stop us from tapping into our wisdom, right? Wisdom from the
No,
house of our ancestors.
not at
And
all.
so whether you are
Not at
in
all.
Plaza, or Panda, or the highway, or wherever, we do it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
as usual, we have Geraldine has just tuned in from Washington. Geraldine, we're sending you lots of energy, a
Hi,
lot of
Geraldine.
creative power, lot of wisdom uh, from the continent, precisely from Mokopane and from Johannesburg to DC.
Mm,
Welcome, welcome, welcome. And so, my friend, what makes you stop
mm,
on the road? What makes you stop on the road to have this conversation on Black wisdom? Hmm?
mm.
How important is
Yeah,
that?
we have had a journey with the launching of these books. And I know I've made the commitments to join this conversation. So even though I was away and now on my way back, I couldn't miss it. I couldn't postpone it. I couldn't shift the time slot. So I had to be here to hear more about what our ancestors have done and what they have left for us as tools to building the future that we want for ourselves as African people. So I'm very much committed to the journey and I want to see it going forward. As a mother of an award winning author, I want her one day to say, I wasn't on this journey alone, but we were together with all our parents. The young author is here,
Yes, I can see
award
her.
winning.
I can see
Yeah.
her.
So it's about staying to what you committed to and seeing it through. And these are the lessons that our children should see and emulate, because you cannot tell them to do something that you are not doing. So if you commit to
Mm.
something, stick to it. So here I am on the freeway having the conversation.
Hmm. It's going to be the best conversation we've had so far. That I know because it's moving. The symbolic of this conversation is that it's on the move. It's on the
Yes.
move with you on the highway. So we're gonna get into it, and I thank you so much for keeping to that commitment. And you're right, our children watch us, and we teach by example, by what we do, not what we say. And our young author has been very, very committed as well. So I want to acknowledge her, see her in the back. I know she knows some of this wisdom. So if she wants to chip in once in a while, she is most welcome to chip in at any time. We do it as a pack. So today it's about this book. We are talking about Black wisdom from the house of history. We are tuning anew to the house of the ancestors and listening to their wisdom. And today we have load shedding. It's load shedding here, so the power is out. It's very cold in Johannesburg, so you see me like I'm in a winter country.
Winter in September.
Yes. The nature does what it wants. So let's go to the conversation. Black wisdom. So this is my friend. This is the biggest book that I've done so far. I mean, I've done the book Anoma Africa from A to Z is 260 pages. The book Let's Talk About Shaka Shaka, it's 180 pages, and this one is 350 pages. This is the biggest that we're touching on today. And it could have been much bigger. It could have been much bigger because this house of wisdom is so rich. It's so rich. And you're on the road. For me, this wisdom is like a navigator. It's like a navigator that we need to use that we sometimes don't, we sometimes ignore. And I think if we can tune back, we can go back to the house of history and listen anew to the wisdom of our ancestors. There's so many things that we do differently because we are walking the journey that they have walked before. So they had learned lessons. All these lessons that they learned are jam-packed in the wisdom that they left behind, in the words that they said. And when I came across them, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so huge, this is so big, this is so good, this is so delicious that I can't afford not to do it.
What made you to collect all those jewels, those pieces of wisdom, and put them into one concise book?
Because I thought they're scattered around the place. And our job at Ubuntu Books is to collect the little we can and put it in books and use it to ignite, to activate, to invite others to go look for more or to do the same or to do better than what we're doing. So when I came across this wisdom, these words of wisdom, they empowered me so much. I learned a whole lot. Just one sentence, you can learn a whole lot. And I thought this is one of the best learning processes that you can have. And again, I decided to put them in a book in the format that I will show you, because I thought it's a pity that when you ask our children who was Yasantewa, Nana Yasantewa, no one knows. You say who was Nkwame Nkrumah, many don't know. You say who was Samori Machel, not many people know. Who was Amika Cabral, and a couple of them. Who was, even today, when you ask kids who was Winnie Mandela, they don't know. Who was Wangari Maathai, they don't know. When you ask some Black kids in the US, I guess when you ask them who was Rosa Parks, some may know, but there will still be some kids who don't know. And I think by learning this wisdom, you not only learn the lessons, but you get to meet the people who made history. People who who made history, who brought about change for us, people who fought, people who left a legacy for us. So that is the reason why I decided to do this big book, and I had a lot of fun. I had really a lot of fun and a lot of light bulb moments just putting together this wisdom.
I remember when you had that summit, the GloBUNTU summit, and our young author here took a snippet of that. Just hearing her say some of the words there was really empowering. And I think if we can just go through the book and share with our audience what is in there, they would really take something home with them inside the book.
Okay, because this is a very big book for us today, what I'm going to do is I'll probably let you see all the people that are in the book. Give you, so you get to see all the people that are in the book. Because when I decided to write this book, remember I had written the book Africa's Female Presidents and Prime Ministers. I had written the book, The Legacy of People of African Descent. No. That one came after. I had written I Know My Africa from A to Z and the other books. So I thought, like, okay, I'm seeing this wisdom. What should I do? What should I do? And I would like to connect the continent with the diaspora. Remember, this is the decade of the UN decade of people of African descent. And in my work, I'm always trying to link that, create that link between the continent and the diaspora. So in collecting and putting together this words of wisdom, I decided to go from the African continent, take people from the African continent and then jump past Europe, because I already did the book on the legacy of Black people in Europe. So I decided to jump past Europe, not to make the book too big. And I went to the US, to the Caribbean, and then Latin America. So this book is made up of 3 sessions, 3 sections, not sessions, sections. And each one of these sections covers one of those, part of the word that I just mentioned. And so I'm taking the command and I'm going straight into the book. And so we pick some, so we get to meet them and then we see what we want to talk about from there. Okay. So screenshot, let's get there. Here we go, Black Wisdom. So you see the title.
As you are opening the screen, I am just thinking that hello?
Yes. Go ahead, my friend. I'm listening to you.
Okay. I'm just thinking that for us to be having these pieces of wisdom, for me, it says we don't have to start from scratch on our journeys to to bettering our lives, because people have already charted the territory for us. So we can take this, learn from them, and do something from it. So we don't have to create anything new, because the pathfinders have already gone before us.
In other words, our rite of passage has been paid for. And what we need to do is we need to acknowledge and find everywhere where that rite of passage was paid, and make sure that we go in there and learn from what they said. So you see, the title is very long. It says Black Wisdom from the House of History, listen anew to the voices of our ancestors. And I deliberately put this long title because each one of the titles tells you what you're going to find in the book. So I'm very grateful for the websites and the different sources that allowed me to compile this history together. And so I'm happy to share it with you. It's there again. I start with some quotes before we even get into that wisdom again. This one is from Kofi Annan, who says, one has to listen from history. Quite frankly, it is almost impossible to have a sense of vision without a sense of history. If history is learned, then it doesn't have to repeat itself over generations. And that was one of the reasons why I said, like, oh, so what are we learning from our history? What can we learn from whom can we learn? So that's one of the premises on which this book stands. Maya Angelou said, and this is what I put in part of the title: we need to haunt the house of history and listen anew to the ancestors' wisdom. And so I went hunting. And I found my friend. What I found was just amazing. And Bob Marley said, "Don't forget your history, nor your destiny." Okay. Marcus Garvey said, "A people without a knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots." Okay. So those are some of the powerful words that, again, that are the premises of this book. And with that said, I just want to show you the table of contents so you see, some of the great people that are in here. And while you're seeing and listening to me, please just go inside you and ask yourself, whom of this amazing Black people, amazing African people, do you know? What do you know about them? What can they tell you? Who is if you don't know, it's all right. Whom are you going to look for next? When we finish this book, who are you going to go online and do some research so you get to know them better? So again, we started with part one, which is Africa, and we started with Albert Lutuli. I want to say I arranged them in alphabetic order, so it's not in any, it's not chronological. It is alphabetic based on their names. So I will start with Albert Lutuli in South Africa. Chief Albert Lutuli. We know that he was one of the founding members of the ANC, and that he was the very first Black African to receive the Nobel Peace Prize in 1960. So, and then we go to Ahmed Sekou Toure. He was the first president of Guinea. And if you know what Ahmed Sekou Toure did after the independence of Africa, of his country, he was the one person who challenged the colonial pact in Guinea. And what the French people did is just a testimony of how destructive and how destructive, the colonialists were. And I thought, like the words of Ahmed Sekou Toure, children should not forget this great African leader. We should not. Amilcar Cabral was one of the great intellectuals of Africa, of the post-independent and the pre and the post-independent area in Africa. He was a great intellect, a poet, a statesman, and just amazing. So the question is, do we know him? How much do we know of Amilcar Cabral? He was the first president of Guinea-Bissau. And then we go to Cheikh Anta Diop. Oh my goodness. Cheikh Anta Diop is one great intellectual who spent his whole life trying to trace the roots of African civilization back to Egypt, to ancient Egypt. I remember his thesis in France. He spent 8 hours just trying to convince all the white Egyptologists who were assembled in the room to prove to them that ancient Egyptians were Black and that ancient Egypt is a Black civilization. So he was from Senegal. He wrote a book, Nation, what is it? Nation et Nègre. It's in French. It's a book that was banned for a very long time. I don't know whether the ban has been lifted, but because in that book he showed all the evidence of a Black, of an amazing, excellence of Black civilization, how the pyramids were built, and how culture, language, organization, and everything that you can think of originated from Africa. He didn't have a simple life. So in his wisdom, he has a lot of powerful words to share with us. And then we have Chris Hani. Of course, Chris Hani was South Africa. My friend, just give us a few words on Chris Hani. Yes. You are South African. Who was Chris Hani?
Well, Chris Hani was the member of the SACP. He fought for the liberation of Black people. I think they formed the tripartite alliance with the ANC, which included the ANC, the SACP, and what's the other organization? COSATU. Yeah. So he was killed. He was assassinated, I think, for the views that he had about the liberation, where he was saying we must be careful that our very liberators should not be the ones that will now be the ones that are oppressing us. So his views, I think, got him assassinated in the 90s before we had the vote in 1994.
That's very typical for most of the progressive thinking African leaders and freedom fighters, that their voices ended the assassination. We know it from a couple of others, but let's stay right here. So the next is Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie was the last emperor of Ethiopia, and we know that under his reign, he was able to protect Ethiopia against the Italian, and Ethiopia is one of the countries that was never colonized. So he was one of the great empire. We have Jomo Kenyatta, who was the first president of Kenya, and one of the founding fathers of the Pan-African movement. These are the early first presidents of Africa. We have Julius Nyerere. We know him very much at Mwalimu. We know the role that they played in the unity of Africa. There was a whole team of this post-independent African presidents who were at the heart of the creation of the African Union, but also the Pan-African movement. And when you listen to their wisdom, it was all about African unity. And I'm saying today, like, what happened along the way? What happened along the way? So we have Julius Nyerere, we have Kenneth Kaunda, and at the time that I was writing this book, Kenneth Kaunda is the only first African president who is in this book and who is still alive. There are a couple of them who are still alive, but he's the only one that is in this book that has not passed on. So if someone is from Malawi and you know President Kenneth Kaunda, please give him our greetings and our regards. And and then we have, of course, Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah is one of the African leaders who is very much known. He's credited for being the father of the Pan-African movement. When you hear his quotes, you really feel the power of the unity of Africa. If we wanted to be, like if we stand up like one person. Nnamdi Azikiwe was the first president of Nigeria. So I'm not going to speak too much about this. I'm just giving you the profile of the people that are in this book. Oliver Tambo, of course, you know Oliver Tambo, my friend. I'll hand this over to you again. Give us 2 or 3 words on Oliver Tambo.
Yeah, Oliver Reginald Tambo is a great South African. He was also in the ANC. He was a great leader who inspired Nelson Mandela and the generation that came after them. And he saw the freedom that they fought for. Like Chris Hani and others did not see it. They fought, they did not see, but Oliver Tambo have seen it. And he was very influential in building the ANC and uniting people. So he's still celebrated in South Africa. In October, in South Africa is Oliver Tambo Month in the area of Ekurhuleni, where he lived in Wattville. So Ekurhuleni region celebrates that throughout the month. And there are places that have been named after her. So these are the great people that we had as South Africa. When we look back and at what people have done, what they have sacrificed,
Oh, my friend, you're breaking. The network is not good. You're breaking. Hello, can you hear me, my friend?
What's happening? I can't hear you now.
Okay, but hello? I can hear you. Yes, go ahead. I can hear you.
Can I have the... Sorry, my friend. I can't hear.
Okay.
The phone disturbed me.
Okay. So we were talking about Oliver Tambo. Let's jump and go while you're getting set there. Patrice Emery Lumumba was one of the great sons of Africa from the DRC. We know him, one of his quotes is at the basis of the books that I write when he said, "The day shall come when Africa will write its own history and it will be a history of glory." He was assassinated, we know, by the agents of King Leopold from Belgium. We're looking at Robert Sobukwe. He's also South African again.
South African.
If my friend can hear me, can you give us a small, a piece on Robert Sobukwe, please? Sobukwe.
Okay. Yeah, Robert Sobukwe was also one of the freedom fighters, but this time he was not part of the ANC, but of the PAC, the Pan-Africanist movement that was there during the time. So he also fought. I think it wasn't just the ANC that was fighting for freedom in South Africa in those times of apartheid. So the PAC, we had AZAPO and the ANC as well. So Robert Sobukwe belonged to the movement of PAC, was a Pan-Africanist who is also, I think, he's celebrated. I remember the first time I saw the name Robert Sobukwe, I was at university. As you know, my friend, that our history doesn't have these sons and daughters of Africa who has done great exploits. So when I went to university, our residences were named after all the freedom fighters, not South African, but even Amilcar Cabral, Kwame Nkrumah and them. They were there, but you didn't know. So I saw Robert Sobukwe then, and I learned a lot about him from my husband when we were together. And when I went to Robert Island. I saw the Sobukwe house even there where he celebrated. So he was one of the freedom fighters of our country during that period.
Yeah. So and then next we have Samora Machel. Sorry, not Samori. Samora Machel was the first president of Mozambique, and the first husband of the second wife of President Mandela.
Nelson Mandela.
He was one of the freedom fighters, and we know that he died on a plane crash. We have Steve Biko, of course. Steve Biko, the founder of the Black Consciousness Movement, and quite a lot of other, things. I think a lot of people outside of the South Africa know Steve Biko. And my friend, just give us two, 3 words on Steve Biko, because I think a lot of people know him. So, and after Steve Biko, we have Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara was the first president. He was the fifth president of Burkina Faso. He was the one who changed the name of Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, which means the land of the upright people. And we know him as one of the revolutionary leaders who opposed France, who opted for the self sufficiency, the full independence of Africa. Yeah, and then we have our first female. You see, there are not many women's stories out there, so I couldn't really pick a wisdom from African women. That's the reason why we're running master classes, so that we should write those stories. But in here, I had the first female to be Wangari Maathai. We have met her as one of our Nobel Prize winners. She was from Kenya and the founder of the Green Birth Movement, and planting trees and maintaining the environment was her life mission. Then, of course, we have Mam Winnie Madikizela Mandela, one of the greatest fighters of our continent, who just passed on a couple of 2 years ago. May her soul rest in peace. So from there, we come to the Caribbean to meet Mr. Bob Marley. Bob Marley, who is the father of reggae, one of the fathers of reggae. We know him, the freedom fight that he led. Did you know that he came to South Africa and he went to Zimbabwe? During the independence, the liberation, the independence celebration of Zimbabwe, he was there. He sang. He was all over the place, spreading the vibes and inviting us and encouraging us to liberate our minds, not just from the physical enslavement and colonization, but also from mental. Yes. So we have Francois Duvalier. He's from Haiti. He was one of the great freedom fighters of Haiti, and I think one of the presidents as well. Of course, we can go to the Caribbean and pass by Marcus Garvey. We know him to be the founder of the Black Nation, and he was one of the. I can't even begin to describe him here. If you don't know Marcus Garvey, please go Google, just like any other one of these great Black people that we're mentioning in here. And then we go to North America to meet Booker T. Washington. We look at Frederick Douglass, Henriette Tubman, John Henry Clark. We go to Mary McLeod Bethune, Maya Angelou, Rosa Parks, Toni Morrison, Wilma Rudolph. And I love the story of Wilma Rudolph, because Wilma Rudolph, when she was born, she has an illness, and all the doctors said that she was never going to walk, and her mother said she would. She said she believed her mom. And she became, she won one of the first Black women to win an Olympic medal for the long run. So it has been extremely powerful, and I got her in here for that. There's William W. Dubois, and yes, so that is the America. And from there, we go straight to the wisdom. I just wanted you to meet the people that are in this book, the great intellectuals, the great history makers, the movers and shakers, let's say, people who left a lot of powerful words of wisdom for us. So here we have one of my favorite, and I think it's yours to emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. And my friend, the reason why we write these books and have the conversation is also to fulfill the promise. And when you just hear the word, free your mind from mental slavery, free your mind. It's like, what are you doing in your mind? What are you doing? Are you from your mind? What do you know? And how what is the source of the information that you know? And how accurate is it? And today, do you still need it today? What is it that you know about your
We
heritage
do.
legacy?
I think we do. When you just read the other one about where the woman who believed her mom about walking, it shows the power of words.
Mm-hmm.
Words are so powerful. They sometimes they even defy science. Because if doctors have said you can't walk and your mom said you can walk and you believe them, so it shows on the power that the mind has. And in terms of issues of freeing, what Marcus Garvey is saying about freeing the mind, we have to let go of everything that is negative that has been said about our continent, everything that is negative that has been said about us as a black nation, that everything that had you can't, we have to change it to you can, because words are powerful. They can do the impossible. And we also have to look at the kind of words that we say to ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
to people around us, because they are that much powerful to change the course of someone's life.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we work with a lot of affirmations, because it's all about going
Yes.
into our mind and changing those words, and listening to the wisdom of
Mm.
these great men and
Yes.
women also helps a whole
Mm.
lot in that direction. So this is
Mm.
Chief Kosi Albert Lutuli, and one of his
Literally.
quotes, um, sorry, to remain neutral in a situation where the laws of the land virtually criticized God for having created men of color was the sort of
Mm.
thing I could not, as a Christian, tolerate.
Mm.
Okay, I just leave that there, for us to think about. Here you have a
Yeah.
selection of wisdom from him. Here is our president of Guinea, Mr. President Ahmed Toure. I mean, a great person that we should know. I just read
Mm.
one wisdom from him. We prefer poverty in liberty than riches in slavery. Okay, so if that is
Mm.
not powerful, if you can dissect that and see
Mm.
what it means. It's just a very short
Yeah.
sentence, but the
But
power of that short,
loaded.
it's so much. The
Yeah.
programs that
Yeah.
we can do, the education that we
Mm.
can, the
Yes.
lifestyle that we have, the mindset that
Mm.
we have, all of it is in there. If you dissect it and you see,
Everything.
yeah. So
The issue of decolonizing our education, decolonizing our minds as well.
yes. So I'm not going
Mm.
to read everything from him. I'll just give you from each one of them very quickly.
Mm.
A teaser. This is Amika Cabral, one of the great sons of Africa. He says, "National liberation is necessary. Is national liberation is necessarily an act of culture. National liberation is necessarily an act of culture, and we think that
Yeah.
it's politics, not just politics, right? So
Mm-mm.
these men are just amazing. We are not
They
going
are.
to eliminate imperialism by shouting insults at it. So that's just
Mm-mm.
one that I put right here. And through all of it, they're very, very powerful words.
Yeah.
Um, so there's quite a lot in there. And then, of course, Check and Diop. Check and Diop, we mentioned him already before. He is
Mm.
someone that every African should know. We should know
Mm.
all these people.
All of
Check and
them.
Diop says, Africa can and will only advance through African integration, which can be realized through the Federal United States of Africa. And we're still
Mm.
having this conversation. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
said so many years ago, or we're still having the
Mm.
conversation. Can we unite
Of
Africa?
uniting.
Unite
Yeah.
Africa. We have the
Mm.
European Union. We have the United States of America. So
Mm.
what is Africa? And people who are talking about African, the unity of Africa, I want them
What's
to know
different?
you're not the first to talk about it. You are not the first to talk about it. It's all been said before. And if we can, base our arguments on the
Mm.
premises of what they said, then you will understand
Mm.
how powerful it is. But the need for Africans to
Mm.
unite. He says European
Mm.
languages must not be considered as diamonds displayed under a glass ball, dazzling us with their brilliance.
Wow.
Speaking,
At that time, we don't even like our own languages.
we're not going to go there, my friends. We want to think that from now we're going to be liking our own languages. We will not point fingers at us right here. Not now. So This is Chris Honey. And you always see their picture. I want children to know the picture. I want children to know the time when they leave. And I want them to know you have links here that you can go online and do some more research. You have sources of where the pictures come from, and you always have 2 pictures of each one of the, the great people in here, so that you don't forget their names. You don't forget their names. And we're going to be working in the future a whole lot with this great people and the wisdom that is in this book. But let me give you one from Chris Honey. He says, "Oh my God, we are running out of power, and we have load shedding. So I'm going to be very quick so that the computer doesn't shut us down. I see my laptop is running down. So Tani says we need to create the pathways to give hope to our youth that they can have opportunity through education, hard work, to escape the trap of poverty." Okay. That is Mr. Chris Honey, and there's a whole lot more from him in here. We have Emperor Haile Selassie, and one from him. He says we must act to shape and mold the future and leave our imprint on events as they slip past into history.
Thought-provoking.
Yes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we have President Jomo Kenyatta from Kenya, and a piece from him will be, "Our children may learn about heroes of the past. Our task is to make ourselves architects of the future."
Yes.
Okay. That's just one. From Julius Nyerere. This is President Julius Nyerere, fondly known as Mwalemu. He says, "You cannot develop people. You must allow people to develop themselves." Okay. So if that is not powerful, and when you ask the question, how do we allow people to develop themselves? You see how much possibilities are in there. The things that President Kenneth Kaunda, and I love to pick them in their traditional dresses. This was these are independent pictures, and you see how they dress in the traditional dresses. It's just so powerful. And one from he says, "Westerners have an aggressive problem-solving minds. Westerners have aggressive problem-solving minds. Africans experience people. We experience people before we think about how to solve problems." Okay. Kofi Annan, the former General Secretary of the UN, says one has to learn from history. Well, I think I said that one already. Let's go pick. We may have different religions, different languages, different colored skin, but we all belong to one human race. To all the races out there. I just picked out that one. Let's go to the next. Kofi Annan has quite a lot. Kwame Nkrumah, I'll pick one from him. "The independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the African continent."
I loved this one.
African unity. Okay. This is again the spirit of Pan-Africanism and African unity. And let me go to Nandi Azikiwe from Nigeria. He says, "No matter how old an individual may be, no matter if he is young or old, if he thinks in accordance with times, he is immortal." So it doesn't matter your age. If you think in accordance with time, you're immortal. Oliver Regina Tambo, "We seek to create a united, democratic, and non-racial society." Okay. And again, there's so much wisdom from this great men and women in here. Patrice Lumumba, "The day will come when history will speak." And that is a long quote from him. A small piece in there. "Without dignity, there is no liberty. Without justice, there is no dignity. And without the independence, there is no free men." So these are powerful words, and my computer is misbehaving because load shedding, but we will manage this. Okay. This is Robert Sobukwe. Let's pick one of his words. We regard it as a sacred duty of every African state to strive ceaselessly and energetically for the creation of a United States of Africa, from Cape to Cairo and Morocco. You see, this spirit of Pan-Africanism, United States of Africa, keeps coming through from the different leaders that we see. So I'm going to do all of that just to save time, even though I would really love to read from every one of them, share some words of wisdom. But it is in the book, and again, we're going to be working with this book in another program. I will not jump Steve Biko. Says the most potent weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
Of the oppressed.
The most potent weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. And when you listen to this, it ties down to what Bob Marley says, liberate yourself from mental freedom. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. So there's certain words that are recurring, certain spirits, certain thoughts that are recurring when you go through all these great people. So let me see who is coming next after Steve Biko. Thomas Sankara. Thomas Sankara says, he who feeds you controls you. He who feeds you controls you.
Controls you.
When you see all the food packs that people give around, you see all the not just in times of crisis, but just think about that.
Not allowing people space to develop themselves, but encouraging dependency is what is killing the nations across.
Right. And Wangari Maathai says, when we plant trees, we plant the seeds of peace and the seeds of hope. And I can't,
that is so powerful. That is what, when you look at what we have planted and the hope, that when you look at the seed, it's such a small thing, but the potential that you find in it, the majesty of the fruits of that particular seed. And the harvest, it's for everyone, not just for the individual that has planted as well.
Yes. So here, Madisikele Mandela says, I am the product of the masses of my country and the product of my enemy. So powerful.
It is.
So from there, we jump to the Caribbean, my friend. We jump to the Caribbean with Mr. Bob Marley. Don't forget your history nor your destiny, he says, and there are many more words of wisdom that follow in that Bob Marley. And then let's go see. We go to Haiti. I didn't find very much from him, but he was a great military man, and he fought for the liberation of Haiti. He says, we have dared to be free. Let us dare to be so by ourselves and for ourselves.
Yes.
Let us dare to be so for ourselves and by ourselves. And Marcus Garvey, of course, there's so much from Marcus Garvey that we can look at. But this one is, the first that I picked. The black skin is not a badge of shame, but rather a glorious symbol of national greatness.
Yes.
For those who, if you have thoughts about your black skin, your melanin skin, you may just go do some research and see what melanin cost on the market today compared to gold. But this was Marcus Garvey for us, during his time. And I'm skipping, going to Booker T. Washington. We are in the U.S. Booker T. Washington. What does he say? I shall allow no man to belittle my soul by making me hate him. I shall allow no man to belittle my soul by making me hate him. When I say we come from a place of greatness, spiritual greatness, we black people come from a spiritual greatness. And again, when you dissect, it means a whole lot. And I'm really looking forward to having time to go through all this, words, powerful words with children, and in the programs that will be coming up at GloBUNTU Books. My friend, I can't go further because the battery is really misbehaving. So let us wrap this up. And then before the load shedding gets the best out of us. This is sabotage, but okay. It tells me that we need to roll out the program. We need to roll out the program, and I will be talking more about that tomorrow. So, my friend, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a powerful book, my friend. It is rich, and I think if you want to it's I won't say it's motivation, because you have to feed your soul so that you don't feel small. It helps one to see that as I am right now, I'm standing on the shoulders of the greatest of giants, people that have faced so many things and stood. And we should be proud as Africans to have had such forebears who have done what they have done, because they are giving us the permission to be everything that we can be, everything that we can dream. It shows us that our dreams are possible, they are valid, and we can enter any stage because of what they have done. There's no way that people can disregard us having had the powerful forebears like them. So for me, my friend, this book, I don't think it should just be read. I think one of the things that you said was like having some programs where this, I think we don't need to end up by just reading these words, but having a discussion of what they mean for us today, just dissecting them and taking any nugget from them to feed ourselves, to build, to have it as a building stone to anything that we want to do. So I think it can be a perfect book for to have, just pick any particular theme, because when you I listen to the course that you are saying, from Cape to Cairo and the diaspora. I think the issue of African unity, the issue of, so there are interlinking themes in all the books, in all the codes. So picking a theme and doing maybe a discussion, a workshop or whatever with that, so that it doesn't just lie there and accumulate dust, but let's work with it so that it instills that sense that as Africans, we are more than, we, we are equal to every other race that that is there. So it must not gather dust. It must not be a collection in my cupboard, but it must be a workbook, continuously using it, exposing the richness of it to our children and ourselves as adults, because we need something to hold on to validate who we are. So for me, it's a beautiful book, and it's a one to have.
Yes, thank you so much, my friend. I see our sister Pauline joined. Leave
Mm,
footprints, she says. Geraldine
mm,
says, hi, Mrs. P. Okay. Well, what I want to say is it's a pity that, this big book that electricity decides to suck down on us. But again, please tune in tomorrow. We're going to have a continuous conversation on what we're doing with affirmations, not with affirmation, but with the words of wisdom. And I think they can
okay.
serve as affirmations, but also the place where we go to get permission to do some of the things that we want to do. It's a place where we go to get
Yes.
inspiration. It's a place where we go to get
Mm,
motivation. To dare to think great, to dare to
mm,
think out of, to dare to question certain things and to look for our
yes.
truth.
Mm,
So, dear
mm,
friends, sisters, and brothers, anyone who is in, this conversation is out there, but it's not the last
yeah.
on Black wisdom. I'm a little bit irritated, I must say, because again, the power is off here on this side of town,
Mm,
and my laptop is dying down. So thank you for tuning in, and we will continue this tomorrow. Quite a lot is in the
yes.
making. We'll share that with you
Yeah.
tomorrow. So please tune in and make sure to like the page and share with, get your friends, get your children, get your family, your loved ones to share all the juicy contents
Mm,
that we've been putting out on this journey.
mm,
Yes.
mm. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone who have listened. Please visit the website. There is so much, so much. This is not just the only book you have heard throughout the month of August. The books that are there, go visit the website. I think inbox or write to GloBUNTU Books and see what you can do to use this book as a workbook. And I think Beatrice can help arrange the kind of programs that will be beneficial for people out there or the children. So yeah, thank you, my friend, for having me.
And drive safe, and bring electricity back to town as you drive in.
I hope
Thank you,
so.
and hello
I'm
to our
charging my phone in the car.
okay.
Okay, see you soon.
See you when we arrive back in town. Bye.
Okay, bye.